What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Purposeful Journey podcast. This your boy Sylvester, aka Sly.
And it's the one and only Perry P. Brown, aka Mr. Ambitious.
And thank you guys for listening and thank you guys for tuning in, man. Today, I just wanted to talk about forgiveness, man, because that's always one of the concepts that it's kind of hard to do, because you hear the saying like, well, forgiveness is not for the other person, it's for you. And, some people can have a hard time understanding that. And I get that, but let's be honest, life is short. Life is too short to be holding any kind of grudge or bitterness towards somebody, no matter what they did to you. And yes, I get it. It depends on the situation. If it's like a severe situation, I can understand. But at the same time, there's a lot of healing that goes with forgiveness. So before I go on my little spiel about it, Perry, what do you think about forgiveness and how you deal with that?
Man, to be honest, it took me a long time to forgive. I'm a recipient of holding on grudges. I was a recipient of that. Um, I use this example all the time, man. My relationship with my dad.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it took me at least 14 years for me to talk to him again.
Mm.
And from that, it took me another 5 years to even want to reconcile and go see him. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Just because of, what everything that happened between him and my mom, like, I felt like he broke the family. And, when him breaking the family, it's just like, okay, what male figure I got in my life? You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I had my brother, but my brother, he older than me, much older than me. So he was gonna do his own thing, and he started having his own family and stuff. So it's just like who my male role model gonna be?
Right.
So it was just like I resented him for that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm like, you supposed to be the man of the house. I'm supposed to be, what I'm saying, looking up to you. I'm supposed to be building up to, how you wanted me to be raised type of vibes.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to really forgive him for that, man. And in the midst of all of that, I realized that the longer that I held on to grudges and didn't forgive him was the longer that I was able to forgive myself for
Mm.
all of my, indiscretions and things like that. And how is God gonna continue to forgive me for all my sins and stuff when I can't even forgive anyone else? And God always forgives us. He might make us go through life situations, but He's gonna forgive us at the end of the day. So I really had to turn my thinking
Mm-hmm.
around to be like, you know what? Everybody deserves forgiveness. Now, whether we, close or whether we talk again, that's a whole different episode. You know what I'm saying? But in the meantime, I know that I did at least put my all into at least forgive you for what you did to me.
Yeah, man. Because one thing about forgiveness is it can mean different things to a lot of people. It's not gonna always be the same. It's not gonna always be, similar. But forgiveness doesn't necessarily have to mean reconciliation either, because just you forgive somebody, and it's for you because it helps your mental health. You won't have to worry about dealing with in being in some sort of a depressive state because of that, the trauma that may have occurred with the situation, the side effects of it. But your relationship may not be the same, and that's okay. Just because you forgive that person, on your end, that doesn't necessarily mean that your relationship will be as what it was. Your relationship will definitely be different, and how you interact, because especially if it's like a close friend or family, you start to wonder, like, okay, can I trust this person again? That level of trust is not going to be the same. That you'll still love that person no matter what, but that level of trust is not going to be the same. The way things were before is in the past. How things are going to be going forward, that is going to be something completely different. So it's just being hurt by somebody can cause a lot of anger, obviously, and a lot of sadness, and definitely a lot of confusion. So I can only imagine with your situation, Perry, about how long it took you to reach that forgiveness, that state of forgiveness, because that's something I don't wish on anybody. Of what you went through, I don't wish that on anybody, not even my worst enemy, because we all want that role model. We all want to have that role model to look up to, man. So I commend you on your journey with that forgiveness, because I don't expect anyone to forgive anybody right then and there. I don't expect it right off. I don't expect it right away. Some people, it may take longer than others for forgiveness. It's going to take, it's a long process. It is a long and tedious process when it comes to forgiveness. But once you reach that level of forgiveness, once you reach that point where you'd be like, okay, I forgive this person, and it's not for them, it's for me, so that I can move forward instead of holding all this anger and sadness and bitterness inside of me. And it's not healthy for me. It's not healthy. So, and it's like you recognize how valuable that forgiveness is and how it can improve your life. So I think that's the biggest thing about forgiveness is just it's going to take time. People try to rush it, try to be like, oh, forgive this person, so you guys can move forward. And yeah, I forgive this person, but that doesn't mean that things will be the same necessarily.
Right. No, it that old saying, you can forgive, but you won't forget.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as much as you want to forget what happened, you can't.
Yeah.
And you know what I'm saying? But the thing is, you don't want to dwell on it at the same time.
Yep.
You're not gonna forget about it, but you don't want to dwell on it. You actually, depending on the circumstance and depending on who the person is, you know what I'm saying, you might want to rebuild,
Yeah.
that was destroyed. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? They might have enough foundation to where you can rebuild and it may grow stronger than your original, friendship, your original relationship. It
Yeah.
may grow stronger, but it ain't gonna be built the same. So
Mm-hmm.
that process is gonna take longer because of what has been destroyed. So I say this to say, like, you do know that it's gonna always be on the back of your mind, but you don't want what went down be in your front view vision like that at the same time, because now that can ultimately block your own blessings too. And I
Mm-hmm.
always look at that too, like when you don't forgive, not only forgive the other person, but forgive yourself, you only just hurting yourself and only blocking your own blessings.
Exactly. Like you really hit a nail on the wall with that, with blocking your own blessings, because we can't move forward in life where we're so focused on dwelling at what happened behind us. It's like driving a car. You can't move forward unless you change the gear shift. You got to shift it to drive. You can't drive a car forward if the gear shift is in reverse. You can't. So while you're focused on what's behind you, you're so focused on that, you can't move forward of what God has in front of you. You can't see what God has ahead of you because you're so focused on dwelling on what happened in the past. Yeah, sure. What happened in the past hurts you. And I apologize for what, if that hurt you, it's very unfortunate. But I don't want you to dwell. And like you said, I don't want you to dwell on that. You don't have to necessarily forget it, because once you don't forget it, it's just like, okay, I know to not let something like that happen again. You learn that lesson from there, but you don't have
Mhm.
to dwell on it for the rest of your life, because life is too short. And I want you to be able to move forward, to go on with your life, to focus on you at the end of the day, because the more you hold that bitterness and anger in and hold that grudge, that person has power over you. They will continue to have power over you each and every day the more you hold on to that grudge. So when you don't do it, they keep that power. So in order to take that power back from them and take that power and give it back to yourself, you got to learn to forgive. And like I said, it's going to take time, but you cannot hold on to that. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to excuse the harm that was done to you. That's definitely not what that means. It doesn't necessarily mean making up with that person who caused that harm either, but it brings you peace of mind when you forgive that person. It brings you um, feelings of understanding, everything, compassion to the person who hurt you. But most importantly, it brings you peace, because we all need peace in our life. We all want peace in our life. We don't want any issues. We don't want to deal with any drama or anything like that. All we want is peace. So it's very important to recognize how valuable forgiveness is. And it's very important to understand the healing that needs to be done, and acknowledge your emotions about what happened to you, how the harm that was done to you, acknowledge those emotions, and just release that control, because we're not always in control. Let's just be honest. We're not always in control. God's always in control, but we're not always in control. So focus on what you can control. is the fact that you need to move on with your life. You can choose to forgive that person, but you have some people who choose not to. They'll say, "Oh, I can't forgive this person for what they did. I'll never forgive this person for what they did." Then you won't be able to move on with your life because you're so dwelled on what happened in the past. That's the problem right there.
You said a mouthful on that one. And I'm also going to add on to that.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever your surroundings are, whoever your people are,
Yep.
make sure they got good intentions and a good heart too. Because they can steer you in to be like, nah, man, if I was you, I would never talk to him again. I would never talk to her again. You
Yep.
know, I can't forgive that person for what he did. If I was you, I would never forgive him.
That's
And
what I'm
then,
saying.
you know what I'm saying? They putting that bug in your ear. And like you said, you dwelling on your past because you got other people talking in your ear and talking you out of something that you know that you really need to do for yourself and for your own health,
Mm-hmm.
but they talking in your ear and they ain't making the situation any better. So that can create more of a burden in your mental health because it's like now, who do I who do I listen to? Do I listen to my gut and do I listen to God or do I listen to my people who trying to tell me not to do it? You know? So I say that also the biggest communication that you need to have right now when it comes down to forgiveness is praying.
Yes.
You
A
gotta pray.
thousand percent. A
You
thousand
gotta talk.
percent.
You gotta talk to God. God is the biggest communicator that's gonna help you get through those trials and tribulations and the burdens that you experience from that hurt. Your people can give you many advice, but the best advice you're gonna get is from God.
Come on now. Come on, preach, preach. I'm telling you, because you gotta give it all to him. Give it all to him. Because God, yes, God allows certain things to happen. God allows us to go through certain situations. He puts a lot on us, and that's true when it comes to certain situations, but he wants to bear it for us. And that's the biggest thing. He wants to bear it for us. He wants to take that load off of us so we can trust him. He wants us to trust him so he can take that load off of us to bear it for us. So we won't have to do it by ourselves. And in this life, you're not everything that you go through, you're not meant to go through it alone. You're not meant to go through it alone. So, like you said, when you mentioned about your surroundings, about who you're listening to, you got to be careful, because if they don't have good intentions and if they don't have your best interest at heart, they could be steering you in a wrong direction. They're taking you on the wrong road. And that's exactly what you don't want to happen is to be steered in the wrong direction because you don't want to hold on to that pain because you might be the one who pays most dearly at the end of that. Because while you're holding on to that grudge, the person who hurt you, they're moving on. They're sleeping at night. They're sleeping at night. They're doing them, whatever the case may be. But you're the one that's paying for it because you're holding on to that soul for so many years, especially if it's like year long grudges, for years and years and years. And like I said, I get it. That person hurt you. It was a traumatic experience. I don't expect you to get over that overnight at all. It's going to take time, but you have to trust. You got to trust God. You got to give it to God at the end of the day because he knows what's best. He's going to help you out. He's going to help you with this process of forgiveness to the point where you're doing this for you so that you can move forward with your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual well-being, even your physical, because all that will affect your physical well-being as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you just forgiveness is very important. So there's no need to be continuously resentful and angry toward that person for years on end. Because, like I said, life is too short. You lose loved ones, unfortunately, and you lose contact with people. You distance and everything. And God forbid something happens to that person or whatever. Especially if it's like a friend or family, God forbid something happens to that person, and you find out, and then it's like you could have tried to at least if it was possible to try to patch things up. Now, like you said earlier, Perry, sometimes you don't have to reconcile things. Sometimes your relationship may not be the same, and that's perfectly fine. But if it's something minute and small that you can probably get that you can get past, patch things up because you never know what could happen going forward. You never know. So instead of, especially for little things, especially for little minute things that you know you can get past, let it go. Forgive that person. Do it for you. While you may feel like they don't deserve it, you deserve that for your own sanity, for your own peace and health and well being.
Hmm. You always want to do it for you at the end of the day, because it's your life.
Mm-hmm.
It's your life.
Yep.
They don't control your life unless you allow them to control your life. As you just said, if you allow them to keep, you know, honing into your life and you still dwelling on it, that means they still got control.
Yep.
And I had to learn that myself. Like, this other person moved on with his or her life, and I'm still sitting here holding a grudge on something that's so minuscule that could have been resolved. Honestly, could have been resolved that day, but it took 4, 5, 6 years to resolve something that could have been resolved that day. And so now you don't went 5, 6 years of crying, stressed, angry, bitter, not trusting God, not trusting yourself, not trusting anybody on something that's so small that could have been handled with, you know what I'm saying, with some dignity and some maturity.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's go ahead and talk about that. Forgiveness takes a person to be real mature.
Yep.
And I ain't talking about just no physical maturity. I'm talking about mental maturity. I'm talking about spiritual maturity. And I'm talking about emotional maturity. I don't care how old you are. I really don't care how old you are. You can be
Mm-hmm.
45 years old and still be emotionally immature, not forgiving someone for the smallest things. Okay, what? Let's take a look in the mirror real quick.
Come
Look
on.
at what you have done to may have caused somebody hurt. They may not forgive you for that,
Come
but
on now.
if they spiritually and emotionally mature enough, they probably did forgive you for that. Cause you don't
Man.
hurt people. That's just turn the tables real quick. We all have hurt people, and the damage might have been minute for us,
Yep.
but it was major for them because you were one of their people. You know what I'm saying? So if they had the courage to forgive you after all of the stuff that you done to them, why we can't reciprocate that energy?
Come on. Come on with it because you may be the one who needs forgiveness. You may be the one who needs forgiveness, but you just said something there. You just said something there. You may be the one who needs forgiveness. You got to honestly look in the mirror. What did you do wrong? And how did your wrongdoing affect other people? Don't judge yourself too harshly, but look at yourself in the mirror. What did you do? If you're
Mm-hmm.
truly sorry for what you did, something that you said or something you've done, and you mean it and you want forgiveness, reach out to that person. Reach out to that person and apologize to them sincerely. Because you got some people who apologize just to get it over with, but they really don't mean it. So
Right.
sincerely apologize to that person. If you really mean it and you really want forgiveness, be sincere of it. Say that you really feel bad about what happened. You feel bad about what you said. You could have gone about it a different way. You feel bad about what you done. And it was not your intention to hurt this person or whatever the case may be. Be sincere about it. You can't force them to forgive you. That's one thing. You can't force nobody to forgive you. No.
Right, right, right.
But they because they got to move on their own timing when it comes to forgiveness. But you cannot force nobody to forgive you now, and that's another thing. But whatever happens, no matter what happens, going forward, just commit to treating others with compassion, empathy, and respect going forward. That's the biggest thing when it comes to forgiveness. Whether you need forgiveness or the other person needs forgiveness, you just got to understand that you can't force it. You can't force it. You can't keep pushing for it. You can reach out to, and that's another thing as well. I gotta add as well. A lot of people won't reach out and apologize. A lot of people won't. Some people will just apologize just to say, "Oh yeah, I said I was sorry. Did you mean it?" Because
Did you mean right?
anybody can say that I'm sorry. Anybody can say that. But it takes a mature person. It takes you being real, honest, and sincere to really truly be apologetic, asking for forgiveness, and being sorry for what you did or what you said. It takes a lot of maturity because you got a lot of immature and petty people out here.
Woo. So you right. So you right.
Come on now.
And with that, if they don't accept your forgiveness, they don't accept your apology, at least you did your due diligence.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, don't keep on trying to push the issue. Don't sit here and try to make somebody forgive you. You did your due diligence. The blood is off your hand. You washed your hands. You got to keep it going. Now at least you know that you can start your journey on a different direction. That's on them now at this point. You already said what you said. They said what they said. It is what it is. That's the key. It is what it is. You did
Yep.
your due diligence, and as long as you were sincere with it and you were genuine with
Mhm.
your apology, and they still don't accept it, okay, then that's on them. You
Yep.
know what I'm saying? Now you got to move on. Now you don't close the chapter in your book that you thought that you would never be able to close because you thought that no one will be able to hear you or listen to you. You know, and that's another thing, man. It's a difference between hearing somebody and listening to someone. You
Yep.
know, everybody can hear you forgive them. Everybody can hear your apology, but
Yep.
are they listening to your apology? That's the question. If
Come
they
on
ain't
now.
listening to your apology, that means that they ain't accepting your apology. So it's either one or two things. It's
Mm-hmm.
either you got to go a little bit stronger with your apology, or you
Mm-hmm.
did go stronger and they still don't want it, and you got to move on. At
Yep.
least you know that at that point, when you apologize to them, in actuality, you apologize to yourself and you apologize to God for disrespecting and disobeying Him.
Come on, because you did your part at the end of the day. You were sincere about your apology. You were sincere about asking for forgiveness. You did your part. That's on them if they choose to forgive you or not. You can't control that. You know, you may feel some type of way in the moment, but you can't control the fact that they don't want to forgive you. That's on them if they want to hold on to that for the rest of their life. That's on them. You did your part. You guys to move forward. And in that vein, you know, just be like, you know what, it is what it is. I did my part. I was sincere, God. I was sincere about my apology. I meant every single word, and I want to move forward. Now that person they don't want to move forward, that's on them. You can't do nothing about that. You know, so because compassion and boundaries are two completely different things. You know, so you can say you forgive that person, but you can also at the same time say that you may not necessarily want to, your relationship won't be the same. You may, things just won't be the same, you know? So at the end of the day, letting go of all these resentment and regrets and hurt that you feel, practicing forgiveness, it's very important. It requires a lot of learning. It requires a lot of finding that meaning in those emotional wounds that you felt from past years of whatever hurt that you experienced, you know? So I read something recently said when you come out of the storm, you won't be the same person who walked in. That's what the storm is all about. You won't be the same person that when you come into a storm and when you come out of it, you won't be the same person. You'll be
Right.
completely different. You'll know. You'll be wiser. You'll be smarter. You'll be stronger because at the end of the day, that's what it's there for. That storm's going to pass over. It's going to pass over. It's not to stay there forever. And that's another thing. People make mistakes. People make mistakes, and that's a part of life. There's a difference between making a mistake and making an excuse. There's a completely different thing, you know, and you just got to understand that everybody's not the same. We all are different people, different human beings, and we experience different emotions. So you just got to give people compassion, show empathy, you know, and just understand that it's going to take time at the end of the day. So don't rush it. Don't force it. Be sincere about your forgiveness and then move on when you just move on. It's important. Life is too short to be holding on to these grudges, like especially if they're small and petty. Move on. Please move on. Because if you're the kind of person who likes to hold on to petty things and be petty, what is that going to do? Does that really make your life any better? Does that really solve anything? It doesn't. And if you say that it does, you're in denial. You're in complete denial because you got some inner work that you need to do. You got a lot of inner work that you need to do. If you say that all this pettiness that you do, that you involve yourself in this stuff helps you, you got a lot of inner work that you need to work on.
Oh yeah. That's that's a whole lie. You know what I'm saying? If you think that being petty is helping you, that's only helping you for a minute.
Come on.
About the rest of your life, you gonna just continue to be petty, and then now you doing what the other person did to you because that person did something dirty to you. You can't forgive that person, so now being petty only gonna lead you to doing what that person did to you. And
Say
now
it.
you just contradicted your whole forgiveness.
Say it.
Like, so it makes no sense to be petty for any reason, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
like, what's the point? It's a waste of energy, it's a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
And you could be that same time and energy you used to be petty, that's the same time and energy you could have been forgiven.
Come on now.
Could have already brushed that off and kept it moving. And like I said, going back to what I said earlier in the episode, like, you can rebuild something as long as it's not destroyed completely.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can start from ground zero and
Yeah.
rebuild up. You know
100%.
what I'm saying? And then it'll come out better than before.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it's not gonna be the same. Like, you can rebuild it, but at some point it's just gonna be like, yeah, you know what? I tried. It ain't gonna work. It ain't the same. And then now you gotta let it go. But at
Yep.
least you did give it your due diligence to even give it a try. At least you heard the person. At least you semi forgave them, because it's a big difference between fully forgiving them and semi forgiving them. Like I said, semi forgiveness means you forgave them, but it's still gonna play in the back of your mind every chance you get.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But fully forgiveness, you
Mm-hmm.
already given it to God. You surrendered it. You prayed every day. You turned over a new leaf for yourself. You know what I'm saying? You
Mm-hmm.
moved on because you knew you had to move on to better yourself. So, with that being said, don't be petty. It ain't worth the energy. It ain't worth the time. It ain't worth the sanity. All you doing at the end of the day is hurting yourself.
Yep.
You just hurting yourself by doing wild things. Like, no. Like, if we're gonna forgive, we need to forgive to forgive. We need to forgive in a way that it is pleasing to God, not forgive just so we can just wipe it off our list and move on with our life. Because at the end of the day, them same burdens gonna come back to you. What if it come back to you a day from now, or what if it come back to you 5 years from now? You haven't resolved it. That's still unresolved issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to fully resolve those issues, you got to do it the way God wants us to do it. And that's how we be able to move forward and be able to be spiritually, emotionally, and mentally mature.
Exactly. That, and you said it right. You said it right. Because if we can't forgive people, how can we expect God to forgive us? How can we expect God to forgive us of anything that we've done that's not pleasing to Him if we can't forgive our own fellow people? Now, is God telling us to go back to being buddy buddy with certain people? No, that's not what he's saying. He's not said that at all. He wants us to forgive people just as he has forgiven us. That's what he wants. And mean fully forgive. You got to surrender, you got to let it go. And it's going to take time, yes. But like you said, Perry, no need to be petty. Yeah, sure, that pettiness may help you temporarily. But here's the thing: you got people who will retaliate. Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to go through that? Because you be petty with somebody. Somebody can retaliate back at you. It's gonna be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Is it really worth it? Is it really worth the stress, the trouble, the outright drama? It's not worth it to me. I know for a fact it's not worth it to you, man. It's not worth it.
Not at all.
Like, like I got better things to worry about. I got more important things to worry about than trying to be petty with people. I don't have time for it personally. I I'm trying to get myself right with God. I'm trying to get better with God. I'm trying to focus on my relationship with Him. I'm focused on what I need to do, and I'm trying to make sure that He leads me in the right direction that I need to go. That's what I'm trying to do. And I just don't have time for it. I don't. So, just all in all, what we're saying to you guys, man, is just forgiveness is not for the other person. It is for you to heal, to grow, to move on, to be able to go on with your life and focus on what you got to do. Because God has a lot of good things for us moving forward, but we can't focus on the forward motion if we're too busy looking back behind us. We can't look in the rear view mirror going to go forward. That's not how that works. That's just backwards. That is just completely backwards. That's not how life works. So stop trying to be petty. No need to hold grudges for years on end. Forgive that person. You don't have to necessarily forget it, but don't dwell on it either. So easier said than done. Yes, of course, 100%. But you just got to commit to it. And if you're not committed to it, it's not going to work. I'm telling you, if you're not committed to it, it's not going to work. Plain and simple.
Right, right. That's just what it is. Like, trust your process. Nobody said the process was gonna be 30 days. Matter of fact,
Mm-hmm.
who put a time limit on it?
Come on.
But you know what I'm saying? Who put a time limit in your process of forgiveness? You know, you just want to make sure that you're doing it though, because like you said, Sly, like life too short, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That person can be here today and then that person can be gone tomorrow and then now that person got to be buried and you got to see that person in the grave with
Mm-hmm.
unresolved issues. Now that's going to hurt you even more.
Yep.
So nobody said to rush your process, but
Mm-mm.
also you want to make sure you doing it in a timely manner too, but do it in accordance to where you know it's going to be sincere. Because when you
Yep.
rushing it, chances are it's not going to be sincere. It's
No,
not going to be authentic.
at all.
And I'm real big with authenticity. So it's just like, if you're gonna apologize and you want me to forgive you, let's make sure that it's genuine on both ends of the map. You feel me? Let's just make sure both of us are mentally and emotionally and spiritually stable to talk this out and forgive each other and talk through this so we can work through it. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, I'm a grown man. I expect another person to be grown just like me, and we handle it like grown people would.
Yep, exactly. Communication is key. If you can't man up or woman up and actually have a conversation, that's a problem. So stop. Look, act your age, not your shoe size. Please act your age because and here's the thing about that. With age, sometimes it's not going to come with maturity. Let's be honest. You got some people who are our age that are more mature than people who are in their 40s and 50s. Let's just be completely honest about it. It's in the mindset thing. You got to change your mindset. You got to reframe your perspective on it, and you got to understand that, like you said, life is short. It's life is too short to be doing all this petty stuff. So you got to communicate, talk it out, talk it out. That's what's important in any relationship. Talk it out, get it out in the open, be sincere about it. Don't be fake about it. Don't say it just to get it out, just to get it off your checklist or whatever. Be sincere about it. And when you're sincere about it, it'll work out for the best. Whether you guys repair the relationship or whether you guys go your separate ways, it'll work out for the best because you guys both can move on. You guys can both move on because you fully can forgive each other, just as God can forgive us of what we do that's not pleasing to Him at the end of the day. So, forgiveness is for you to heal, to grow, to move for us, to move on to what God has in store for you in front of you, not behind you. So don't worry about what's behind you. Focus on what's ahead of you. Focus on practicing forgiveness and forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for holding on to that for all these years, holding on to that anger and bitterness and resentment for all those years, months, however long it was. Forgive yourself. Let it acknowledge that. Please acknowledge it. I urge you to acknowledge that. So, and that's what I got to say about it. Anything else you got to say, Perry? Because I feel like I done said my piece for the most part.
Man, I spoke my piece too, bro. Like I said, man, just you'll learn how to live your life better when you learn how to let things go.
Yeah.
I had to experience 19 years of
Mm,
resentment, felt neglected, felt angry,
yeah.
bitter, you name it, man. All the negative things you can name it, man. But
Yeah.
once I made that move on February 25th, 2023,
Mm-hmm.
the day before my 33rd birthday,
Mm,
that changed my whole life. That one trip to North Carolina changed my whole life. Even if I
yeah.
don't get up there no time soon after this year, at least I will forever remember that day
Yep.
because that was the closure of one chapter and the beginning of a new chapter for me to move on to greater things and bigger things.
Yes. 100%. I love that. I love that. And that's what's most important to be able for us to experience all that God has for us, to be able to experience the good things that He has for us, to prepare us for the things that He has for us moving forward. It's crucial. It is very crucial in this life. It is very crucial because you never know when someone's last day is coming. You never know. And when that day comes, it'll be too late. Stop giving people their flowers at their funerals. Give people their flowers now. Give it to them now. Should have been giving it to them, but give it to them now while they're still here. Love on them
Mhm.
while they're still here.
Mhm.
Embrace them, whatever the case may be. Love on them while they're here. Life is too short, y'all, and y'all we know it to be a fact. Life is too short. So that being said, thank you guys for listening, for tuning in, and for watching this podcast. We really appreciate you guys from the bottom of our hearts for tuning in, man. And always, you stay tuned for the fun. Stay tuned for more because we will have more stuff like this coming at you very, very soon. And as always, this is your boy Sylvester, aka Sly.
It's your boy Perry, man, aka Mr. Ambitious.
And we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. We hope that you have a blessed weekend, a blessed month going into November, as well as the rest of this year, because we're about to go into 2024, y'all. So let's
Yep.
finish this last quarter out strong. Let's finish strong. So we love you guys. We appreciate you guys. And we hope that you guys take care of yourselves. Be easy.
Be blessed.